Welcome everybody to the Neighborhood District 4 quarterly meeting. And we're so glad to have you here. We have a full schedule today and lots of very interesting people. I want to recognize Catrice, Catrice McKay in the back here. And we're going to have other candidates coming. And let's see, are there any other city council people here yet? Oh, Gary, just walking in. Hi, Gary. And there's Gary, our other citywide city council. The neighborhood district program operates under the city council. And so if you want to find out about our meetings on the Provo city website, what you do is you first click on city, then you click on city council, then you click on neighborhood district program, and then you click on district 4. And then you find out everything about us and you can see former meetings and everything. So first of all, I want to introduce our district executive board. I'm Beth Hedengren. I represent Grandview South, and Melanie is also Melanie Epling also represents Grandview South. And from Grandview North, we have Stephen, and he's also our secretary. Over here, we have Eric Chase, yes. And he is from Rivergrove, his North Park. His partner has a broken ankle and isn't here today. And then David Alkdirks from Carterville, and Sarah Acey from Carterville, and Kristen from Rivergrove. I should have it all written out in my notes so that I don't forget. We find it a pleasure and a privilege and an honor to be able to serve you in this position. We're going to start with a presentation from Provo Parks and Covey Center for the Arts, led by Gary Winterton, about the RAP tax, and they will tell you all about that. We have Gary Winterton, and he'll introduce his team.
Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. We have two representatives, John Butterson and Doug Robbins, to be here with us and help us with the information about the RAP tax. As city employees, they are not allowed to advocate for it. And that's why I get to come here. I'm going to give them the opportunity to tell you about the RAP tax. And then I'm going to tell you about how great it is. So if you'll give them a couple minutes here, they've got some really interesting information for us.
Thank you, Gary. It's an honor to be here with you tonight to share a little information about the RAP tax. Gary was a council member when the voters of Provo adopted the RAP tax back in 2015. So it's an honor to be here this afternoon to discuss some of the results of that decision back at that time and talk about what opportunities lie ahead. One of the reasons why Provo is always seems to be ranked as one of the best well-run cities in America, is its avoidance of debt and large bonding initiatives. That was true in the old days, and it's true today with our elected officials today. So following this theme, the Parks and Recreation Department has internalized a pay-as-you-go approach for project delivery that minimizes the abrupt increases of operations and maintenance costs that are associated with bonding. Tonight, we'll review some of the basics of what RAP is, how RAP has been used to meet these ongoing capital needs of our parks and recreation system, and the opportunities for voters to decide on the continuation of RAP for another 10-year period. It's important to understand what RAP is. It's considered a local option sales tax, which means the state allows counties and cities to adopt a tax for the purposes of enhancing recreational opportunities, supporting arts and cultural initiatives, and improving parks within a municipality. The amount is set by law, that rate. It's 1/10 of 1%. So a good way to calculate that is on a $10 purchase, you add on 1 penny, and that's the equivalent of what that tax is. It's important to also recognize that this tax is not only paid by our residents, but also the visitors come to Provo and spend their money here. So in that way, we're able, with this tax opportunity, to collect from the visitors that come to Provo. It's not just on our tax base. It's anticipated that approximately $2 million at this point is accumulated each year in RAP tax revenue. What determines what gets funded? We utilize our planning documents, including the general plan, our Parks and Recreation Master Plan, survey assessments that are done throughout the community, and other planning documents the city produces and updates regularly to make decisions and prioritize a capital improvement plan. We also take public input through surveys. And one thing that seems to come forward every time we do a community input survey is to take care of what we currently have. It's great to have new things, but it's really important throughout the survey data, these results kind of came back as a mandate to take care of what we currently have. And that's really been what we've tried to do with these decisions. So each year we also have multiple open houses, citizen design committees on the multiple projects that we have. And we're continually receiving public feedback that we record, and it helps staff prioritize project needs that we compile into a capital improvement plan. We then present that in the spring to our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and then to the Municipal Council for approval. That becomes our game plan going forward. And then we go to work. Using RAP funding to leverage all that we can from outside grants, federal and state grant and funding organizations, even donations from outside groups and nonprofits. This table highlights some of the local funding over the past 6 years involving RAP. This shows how scrappy we tend to be in stretching each available dollar so that we can get more done for the residents of Provo. As you can see, we've received about $26 million in outside funds, and which doubles the effect of our local funds. I just would like to just really emphasize how important this is to have those matching grant seed dollars to be able to go out and compete with other organizations for these grant dollars. Tonight, I am joined with John Bunderson. He's our project manager, one of the very best in the business. And he's responsible for a lot of the funding and grant funding that Provo City receives on a regular basis from these outside groups. And he'll discuss some of the projects that have been funded through RAP.
I now have the challenge to try to fly through $50 million plus of improvements that Provo has benefited from. So RAP funded improvements are made across the city, citywide, and benefit all residents of Provo. Start with these highlights with the Limited Play Center. This was Provo's first adaptive play area, funded by primarily Community Development Block Grant, and RAP tax funding brought this project across the finish line. This was a priority because kids with disabilities were underserved in Provo City, but due to RAP, there's a place where all kids can play regardless of their physical or cognitive abilities. Right by the Recreation Center on 500 North. Next is the Rotary Park courts, restroom, and playground replacement. When courts need to be replaced, we try to maximize the utility and adapt to current needs. Today, that means the integration of pickleball courts where possible. As pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the country, this facility gained 8, and they were the first pickleball courts in Provo City, as well as improved tennis courts. We went from asphalt to post-tension concrete courts. As we are able to evaluate and stretch the available budget in this project, we were able also to replace the restrooms with year-round capable restrooms that accommodate both small groups as well as high capacity restrooms for men's and women's. The playground replacement included the addition of covered swing set and rubberized surfacing that keeps us compliant in the Parks and Recreation evaluation of playground safety. The next project to highlight are Provo River Trail improvements. The green line on this page shows the alignment of the Provo River Trail that has been improved in the last 7 years, as well as the yellow highlighted on the right. There has not been significant improvements to the trail since the 90s, and these are the first major improvements to the trail since then. And the following 2 slides demonstrate what these improvements have brought forward. Improved undercrossings, trail lighting, as well as widened trail surface and safer tunnels and ADA capable grades going in and out of those undercrossings. The projects have received about $8.7 million in grants to supplement the $3.7 million in local funding. So we've doubled and a little bit more the ability to improve these projects with grant funds. The next areas that were improved trail-wise, besides the world famous Provo River Trail, are the College Connector Trail, Independence Avenue Trail, where these were resurfaced and restriped. Carterville Park, parking lot, basketball court, and walking paths were resurfaced. Rock Canyon Park, the Bowl parking lot area, walking paths were resurfaced. And Mazer Park, basketball court, and walking path were also resurfaced, all due to RAP tax funding. The next project to highlight is Lakewood Playground, where 50% of the project was funded by county municipal grant, as well as RAP tax funding, where new shade sail and new play equipment were brought to this site, as well as ADA improvements along the street. I'm going to start moving a little bit faster because I know I'm already out of time. So the show at Fort Utah brought a major league experience to our youth that allows them to have big league experience. There are fields that are themed after Wrigley, Fenway, Dodger Stadium, and Yankee Stadium. And these improvements give our young boys and girls a higher quality ball field experience. Spring Creek Park was largely funded by outside funding, but the RAP tax was able to bring this project also across the finish line to an underserved neighborhood with residents that were blocked by State Street to have access to Bicentennial Park. And this park spurred development to the south, a lot of housing that is now a treasured neighborhood park. West Park renewal. The West Park subdivision was platted and developed shortly after World War II. And this park was platted with it and unfortunately had seen very little improvement in that time. But last year, this park was revitalized with new sports court, restroom, pavilion, shaded swing set, and off-street parking, and high efficiency irrigation system, which keeps our costs down. And this was all because of RAP. The Provo River Delta Gateway Park is a very recent addition to Westside Provo. And for 10 years, we've coordinated with our partners with the Delta Restoration, State Parks, Division of Wildlife Resources, Utah County, and others to create a gateway park to the new Delta wetlands. This facility included a new pedestrian bridge over the river, playground area, pavilion, restrooms, and improved river access, and multiple new trails have made this new Westside Park an instant success. Riverview Park, these were some of the conditions that could have been found there 3 years ago. And we are trying to demonstrate that we take care of what we have first by improving the playground and the courts there, with the addition of 4 pickleball courts and replacement of the 2 tennis courts on the site. Up at Rock Canyon Trailhead, the improvements that were completed last year in improved off-street parking and access to the site. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to be up to Rock Canyon in the last year, but it is a very different experience with new interpretive signage, new pergola, new small rock climbing wall area, and great new restroom for year-round service in the canyon. Rock Canyon Park, again, was seeing some decay in the restrooms and playground, difficult to find replacement parts for some of these aging playgrounds, which spurs them being the next in line for replacement. So that has seen a great replacement of the playground, new year-round restroom capable. There's a lot of winter sports that are played up there in the Rock Canyon Bowl. And all these improvements support the recreation that's seen up there. A lot of city events also are sponsored up at Rock Canyon Park. So new walking paths and new pathway lighting has also adorned the new playground and restrooms up there. Quail Orchard Park was largely paid for by impact fees from new development, and RAP tax brought this project across the finish line. That is an amazing amendment to the neighborhood up there with 3 playground areas, 4 pickleball courts, a naturalized stream, 4 pavilions, restrooms, and a half-mile walking paths and a new climbing wall. And I'll finish up my part of the presentation on the Epic Sports Park, that when built was to obtain 2 main objectives. One was to provide needed sports fields for local teams and for the addition of sports travel tourism tournaments to come in and play and bring the world to Provo. And due to RAP tax and other funding, the Epic is performing exactly as we designed and built it to perform.
Thanks. We'll get John over to the Epic because his son's playing there right now. The arts are an important element of the RAP funding plan. When the Provo Library was moved to Academy Square from this block here, the leaders of Provo decided to renovate the old building and invest in a community arts center. For over the past 18 years, the Covey Center for the Arts has served as a cornerstone for creativity, education, and community connection. Each season, the Covey welcomes more than 150,000 patrons to performances that range from world-class concerts, plays, and musicals to transformative arts education shows in music, dance, and musical theater, to world-class art gallery exhibitions. Our mission here at Covey is to deliver inspiring, accessible, and family-friendly programming that strengthens the cultural and economic vitality of our region. With relatively low budgets and small staff compared to other venues of our size, the Covey Center still manages to outperform these other venues in the state. Most venues have between 100 and 130 events per year. The Covey Center is on track to host 352 events in this current season, which gives us a booking rate of over 90%. It's a busy place, and many of our own families participate and utilize that facility on a weekly basis. The Covey Center is home to the Utah Metropolitan Ballet, the Utah Valley Symphony, and the Utah Premier Brass, who all perform several times a year in the main hall. In addition to these events, Covey Center for the Arts offers over 80 classes each year in music, dance, and theater. Some of the highlights this year's main stage season will be performances like Tony Danza, the Doo-Wop Project, Ballet Folklorico, and Richard Thomas in the Mark Twain Tonight tribute event. Christmas in Killarney, Mrs. Doubtfire, Charlie Brown Christmas, The Mikado. The Osmonds musical will be the U.S. premiere of that event. The Tina Turner musical, Fat Cat Swingers, 9 free concerts by some of Utah's most accomplished musicians, and many more. Should be noted that 70% of the Covey's patrons for these shows come from outside of the city of Provo. They bring their dollars to Provo and contribute to the economic vitality of our downtown area, hotels, restaurants, and of course, contribute again to our RAP tax revenues. Some of our capital projects that RAP has been used for in recent years include upgrading outdated house and stage lights to low voltage LED instruments, which have a much more energy efficient demand. We've replaced our HVAC boiler, which has resulted in an annual operational savings of $25,000. That's each year. We've installed new carpets throughout the building as well because the old carpets were wearing thin due to such heavy use. The Covey Center is the arts hub for Provo and indeed for all of Utah County. In fact, the Covey is so busy that we frequently turn groups away because we simply don't have available days to accommodate everyone. Covey Center serves Provo and the surrounding area as a center place for the best the arts have to offer, and the RAP is central to that. RAP also supports our community arts grant program, and this initiative offers small grants to local artists and programs to help nurture artistic creativity and inclusivity in the community. These funds are distributed through the Provo Arts Council. The RAP tax has funded dozens of artists and local community groups over the past 10 years with financial support for projects in dance, theater, fine arts, music, literature, and more. This table shows just some of the grants that were recently funded in this current year. So going forward, if the voters of Provo agree to a continuation of this RAP tax question, we've categorized how the funds would be used, and these 5 categories will be listed on the ballot as well. They include our existing facility upgrades. Prioritization of the arts will probably increase a little bit more. Trails and pathways and trailheads will probably decrease just a little bit because of the great work that John's done obtaining grants and the progress we've made on our trail improvements. A long-term planning for future needs that we need to plan for, and then minor capital improvements just to keep everything fresh and take care of what we've got. So thank you for inviting us to present on this information, Gary, and would be happy to get back to you on any questions you might have. I know our time's getting kind of thin, but I'll turn it back over to Gary. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doug. And John, they're here. They get excited about the things that we've done with the RAP tax. It's amazing what they have done with the RAP tax. Last year, I understand that we got about $2 million, and they actually turned that into $10 million. They have great grant writers and opportunities. They recognize and they take advantage of them. So the RAP tax is critical in my mind for the funding of our capital improvements for the parks and recreation. Basically the only capital improvement funding that we have comes through impact fees and the RAP tax. And impact fees are required to go to the increase as new developers come in and bring more people into the community so they can provide increase to our existing facilities, but they are not really allowed to use the funding for improvement of the existing. That's where the RAP tax comes in and becomes so critical for us to be able to use those impact fees to improve and maintain the things that we have. Just so you're aware, cities that we have that have the RAP tax or something similar to it: Santaquin, Payson, Spanish Fork, Springville, Mapleton, Highlands, Cedar Hills, Orem, Linden, American Fork, Lehigh, Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs, Vineyard. They all have this RAP tax in one form or another. And Provo was one of the first ones to ever have this. And that's why we need to renew it again right now, because all these other cities have it. Anytime you go and see a play at the Sierra or something in, buy something at Costco, you are paying what they call their care tax as well. And we're inviting people into our community. I look at our sports park and the visitors that are coming to BYU for football games or for BYU activities, graduations, grandparents coming to, all these people that are coming into our community will help participate in the RAP tax. The reason we're here tonight is because of the influence that you have. You are great leaders in our community, and we're grateful for your willingness to serve. People will come to you and say, what can we, what do you think? What do we have? And I hope with all my heart that you will recognize the importance of the RAP tax in our community. If you have any questions, these guys can answer questions about the RAP tax. I can talk about how we originally started it because I was on the city council, and I think it's one of the greatest things that I had the opportunity to participate in while I was on the city council. Do any of you have any questions about the RAP tax? Let it go.
But,
Let me give you my phone number.
Save your questions. We'll, after our next presentation and the next one, then we're going to have public comments. So jot down your question and then we'll have questions. Are you going to stay?
Yeah, I can stay for a little while. And if you will like, I can give you my phone number and you can call me.
Okay.
If you struggle with the RAP tax, I want to know why, because I can't see anything wrong with it. So I think it's a great blessing. My telephone number is 801-372-6633. And if you have any questions about it that I can answer, I would love to do that. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gary. And thank you, John, and you too. Thank you. I have trouble with names. All right. Now we're going to have a little section here about what your executive board has been doing for you in the last few months. And we're going to try to move right along. We have lots of stuff that we want to get through. There we are. And this is our district, the little red area there. That's our 5 neighborhoods. And we will start right in with, this little clicker will do it, right? This way. Okay, we're going to start with the 820 update with Kristen.
Does this work? Okay, perfect. I'm going to stand over here so I can stare at my slide. Yes. Okay. So as many already know, the bridge on 820 North, as you head west from here, is being replaced. This is just a quick update on where they are on the project and kind of what you can expect so far. So if you want, they have a whole website. I put the website URL. If you scan the QR code, it takes you to the same website, at least for the next 2 days. I used a free QR code. Anyway, you can go there for updates. They have a Q&A page, all sorts of good information. But for tonight, right now, they are currently getting a contract in place with a contractor. So that's where they are in the process. They bid it out. They're finalizing things. They're planning to start construction here in the next few months. And then that will go through like midsummer of 2026. So like buckle your seatbelts. This is going to take a little bit. Let's see. What button do I hit this one? There we go. So this is what the bridge will look like. Originally, they had planned something much wider and more robust. But because of community input, they kind of split the difference between what a lot of community members wanted and what they originally planned and came up with this. It'll have nice walking paths, bike lanes. It'll have the middle lane, so it's not quite as scary to cross over it. And then this is on that website right now, and it shows kind of what it's going to look like afterwards. So you have 850 West, which is currently blockaded. Like you can't use that road anymore. That will become official. That will no longer be a road you can turn on. And then to the north, over in my neck of the woods, 900 West is going to turn into a dead end cul-de-sac. Right now, that's a through street that hits into 820. So that's what it looks like, what the plan is. Once they have the bid finalized, they will put more details on that website. So if you're interested in following along and knowing when to plan for closures and whatnot, jot down the website. Here it is again. And you can go there for, questions. There's also an email. So you can, or I think and a phone number as well, if you want to reach out with any specific questions that aren't addressed.
And again, save your questions. We'll have time for questions. Okay, next I think we have, no, I don't think it's you. I think it's David. Do you want this?
I'll do this. So I've been working with the city on the Carterville alleyway. It's a true no man's land and within the Provo city
boundaries. This area is right between, it's this yellow highlighted, so it's between Freedom and 300 West, behind the new UCCU Credit Union and the Provo Armory for the Utah National Guard. This land has no owner of record. Which way do I click? This way. Some of the issues that we've had in this area is homelessness, drug dealings. They have them down behind the UCCU, and these are just some of the pictures that I just recently took. This has been this area was cleaned out less than a month ago, and we've already got a bed back in there. And there's an overgrown canal, and this is kind of showing the overgrowth. And the city did come in and cut down a lot of the growth so that the fire department could potentially get down there if they needed to. But I met with the city, and we are trying to figure out what could happen. The main takeaway that I got from the city was, if we see something happening in our neighborhoods, call dispatch. Even if we don't think the police will get there before it's over, our police department is driven by statistics. And if we call dispatch and report it, they have a record of it, even if they get there after it's happened and whatnot. They did say if you see a potential crime happening, however, call 911. Because when I talked to them about this alleyway, they said that they had no record of homeless activity or drug dealings because people just aren't calling it and reporting it. And currently the city is trying to get help with Senator Curtis to get the Armory to take part of this alleyway and make it part of their property. They told me that UCCU currently doesn't want the section behind their building.
That's where we are on that, and we hope to find more. Okay, Melanie's going to talk about 1460 and the crossing guard situation.
All right, I was part of the conversation with this, so some people are just wondering what's going on with that. So you'll notice the big X. They took that school crossing out. The plan is to put a pedestrian, well, it is right now, a pedestrian crosswalk there, and the flashing lights are ordered. So they are planning on doing that. And then the school crossing zone has been removed from that area. There's been a lot of questions about why that happened. And the main reason is because we wanted to bring the kids down to the crossing walk that is already there across Westridge Elementary School. And it's just one time to pass over 1460. It's just a lot safer to do it once instead of twice. And also the other rule that we learned is that you can't have the flashing pedestrian lights in the same area as a school zone. So lights. And so we figure that would probably be more useful to have the flashing pedestrian because we do have people going to the park all the time. So that's the plan there. And then just an update on 1460 speed, since that's a big hot topic in our neighborhood. Vern Kessler, who is the traffic engineer, has gave me another email today, and he just said that right now the traffic study is still being done on that intersection of 1460 and 1500. And when that is done, that'll help us know if we need to do a four-way stop there. That has been a debate for a long time. And your speed sign is up now, and he is using that data right now. And he said it has slowed down traffic quite a bit. And so at this point, he doesn't see a need to change the speed on 1460. So that's where we're at on that.
Thank you. And now Steve.
Okay, the other east-west road on Grandview Hill is 1700 north, also 1730 because it bends north as it goes west. When people ask where do I live in town, I try to describe to them and they say, oh, you live on the shortcut to Walmart. because Independence doesn't go through to Sand Hill, a lot of people will cut through Grandview to get over to Walmart without having to go on University Parkway. So anyway, there was a very wide road, and one of the number one concern of neighbors when I started on the board earlier this year is speed on 1700 north. There are roundabouts, but in between on the straight stretches, the cars get pretty fast. So Mel Smith and I met with Vern Kessler, and he said the best solution is to go with the striping. So recently 1700 North was striped, which visually narrows the road, and people psychologically drive slower when the road looks narrower. We don't have the stats exactly on since the change has been put in, but I read a little bit of research on striping, and it's somewhere between 1 to 7 miles per hour on the average slower that people go when the road has been visually narrowed. So hopefully that'll help somewhat.
Thank you.
Did you?
And then, yeah, talk about the cleanup.
Okay. Also on the community hours that we've gathered so many this last year. It's been great with people helping with these
Let me
projects.
just say, Steve is our secretary, and
Oh.
he is fabulous, and he's collected
Yeah.
all this data for us.
Yeah, trying to keep track of all the volunteer hours people put in, but like the Lions Park, which I guess we're going to talk about later. But anyway, we were gathering all kinds of good hours, and then we found out that some of them didn't qualify for the matching grant funds that we use to buy these Your Speed is signs and other things to improve our neighborhoods. So to clarify, they're now called community cleanup hours. So if you babysit, if you help people move, if you do free tutoring, if you do all these free legal help and so forth, those are great things to do, but they do not count toward these matching grant funds. It has to be a visual improvement to the community that is visible from the curb. So if you do weeding, if you convert a weedy front yard, xeriscaping, picking up litter in the parks, all kinds of things like that, those hours count. And I will pass this clipboard around. There's a QR code up at the food table there if you'd rather do it online. But if you've done anything along these lines that you would like to record, it will add toward our matching grant fund money. So I will pass this around. Thank you.
So, the reason we're so interested in these community cleanup hours is that the city has this wonderful program where it matches our cleanup hours with cash that we can spend however we want that they approve. And we've really done some wonderful projects in the past and want to do more going forward. I did want to highlight our recent fire mitigation service. On August 16th, we had 150 volunteers show up and 2 locations, including some of our candidates here were there. And we were at Lions Park and at the Hillside just west of Freedom Elementary, where this hillside and just below your house, the hillside has become so overgrown with and filled with dead debris, brush, all kinds of stuff that would burn very easily. And we don't want to burn down our houses. So we went in there and we cleaned it all up, and it was fabulous. We took away 7 dumpster loads of debris. And the Parks Department was great to work with us. They took away those dumpsters and they were smushing them down, and so that we could get the most into them. Anyway, that's an example of our community cleanup. Next, here I am. So here's where we are right now. I'm going to take. We have 602 3/4 hours total, worth $9,000 of grant funding. So, and that is just wonderful. We have 278 rolled over from last fiscal year, 324 so far just from that Hillside project, and we'll be getting more. And here's the great thing, the city has allowed us to roll over hours. So if we can only get the 7,500 each year, but if we have more hours, we can roll it over to next year and the next year and the next year. And so we can always have our $7,500 for our matching funds. Right now, we have 7,500 ready to go right now. But we don't know what we want to spend it off for yet. So that's where you guys come in. Last year, we did your speed signs on both Carterville Road and 1460 North, and you've heard about the success of that. We also donated garden supplies to build, garden boxes at the community gardens on 8th North. And I don't know if they've built those yet, but I hope they will. And I'm sure they will. And so what do we want to do in 2025? And in a minute now, we will have time for you to tell us. So be thinking about that. We're trying to get a lot into this meeting. And so we're moving right along, but think about things to do. We had a project at near Exchange Park for bike lanes to be painted in there. So far, that's been kiboshed by the city. There's the south side of University Parkway in Carterville that David has alerted us to that needs cleaning up and maybe landscaping. The South Hill of Grandview South neighborhood is always in need of help. And I know there are other good projects. And so we need to know what they are. We can get our project proposal in as soon as we decide on one. All right, 2 announcements. Grandview South neighborhood is having a pickleball tournament, thanks to Melanie. And we're really excited about this, except, and John Bunderson isn't here, but the sad thing is we have to do it in Orem. Because there is a rule that we can't reserve pickleball courts in Provo. And even if we pay money, we can't do that. So we're paying money to Orem out of the budget that the city gives us. Mayor, are you listening? We're giving money from Provo to Orem so we can use pickleball courts in Orem when we have wonderful pickleball courts in our own neighborhood. So I'm looking at you. Anyway, come and play pickleball if you're in our neighborhood. And also Carterville is having a neighborhood picnic, and it will be actually on September 19th. We know now, Friday the 19th, starting at 5:30. And representatives in the state legislature are going to be there to meet you, and it will be a fun time to hang out with your neighborhood and with free hot dogs. And that comes from the funding that we get from the city. All right, that's it. Now we're going to have the state school board. Remember to think of your questions. We're going to have time for you later. State school board, talk to us about this crazy tax problem we're in.
Okay, I'm just the Provo school board. I'm not the state school board. So if you have questions for the state, I will direct. No, you're so good, but that's a bigger job than I'm probably ready for. All right, well, thank you for a minute of your time, and I'll give you a brief overview of what just went down with Provo City with talking about our tax rates. So we start our budgeting process. Well, we're looking already and reviewing programs to see, but early in the spring, we're working hard on our budget. I sit on the finance committee, so we spent a lot of time looking through expenses, looking through additional things that we're required to be doing right now. We come up with a budget. That budget hits the board in a draft form by like May and June, and typically by June, we have our budget hearing and decide on a budget. Just so you know how it works with your taxes, the county sets a tax rate based on the valuations of your home. And based on the amount that we collected the year prior, that's the same amount we collect now. So every year, we collect the same amount of revenue from your taxes. So when your property values go up and your taxes go up, in order to balance that somewhere else in the city of Provo, valuations are set and property taxes go down so that we bring in the same amount every year. However, if we need to bring in extra revenue, the lever that we have as a board is to do truth in taxation and raise the levies that we can move. This year, they hadn't done that since 2022. When we all remember it was a pretty significant tax increase that year. And at the time, they had discussed doing this every other year, truth in taxation as a board, to react to things like inflation around expenses, cost of expensive programs like our school guardian and safety programs that the state has asked us to provide, which we really value, but are very expensive. So we got our rate. We wait to get the rate from the county, which we got in June. We had already seen the valuations and we knew that a lot of them seemed to be going up. But when we got that rate, I remember sitting in the committee meeting and being so surprised because it was so much lower than what we had expected. And I'm all for lower tax rates. I don't want to pay more taxes, but I thought, wow, that is it was historically low tax rate for Provo. And so when we were looking at the problem we have right now with our teacher salaries in Provo, we were thinking, it's very expensive actually to live in Provo, and a lot of our teachers live in neighboring communities and they commute into Provo to teach and work in our schools. If our neighboring communities are paying more to their teachers than we are, and our teachers are living in those communities already, it's a pretty hard ask for them to commute into Provo. And we've been working hard to try to incentivize and retain our really talented teachers, because that's where, when we spend money, that's where we get the most impact from the dollars we're spending, or the quality of those teachers. The year before this, we were able to use interest income to provide a longevity bonus, because what we're trying to do are keep those teachers who have like 5 years worth of teaching experience, or those principals, keep them in Provo. So we had done that. But this year we knew it would cost about $4 million to give everyone the increase that it's still not exactly catching us up to our neighbors, but would give us closer. So when we saw those rates go lower, I will own that I advocated for the board to do truth in taxation, to bring in that amount of money additional to what the tax rate set would have brought into Provo. And that's the process we went through. We voted on that just a couple weeks ago. We approved that rate. Some people's taxes still went down in Provo City. Some people's taxes stayed the same, and some people's taxes went up, but not by very much. And your tax bill that you have received so far should reflect that for you. But last week we were notified by the county that though they had assessed every home correctly, when they took the assessed values of all of the homes in Provo and put them into sort of the spreadsheet, I'll call it, for their system, that would then go to have that county set a rate and adjust the rate based on the amount, about $530 million worth of assessed value in Provo was counted twice, which meant when they set that tax rate, they lowered that tax rate, which was why it surprised me that it was lower by so much. They lowered that to offset what they thought was the amount of value in the property and land in Provo, but it wasn't the correct amount. The full scope of this error for all of Utah County is about, I think it's like $970 million, so almost $1 billion worth of property values that actually where that value doesn't exist. And so Provo was impacted the highest by this. It's about 5% of our budget and the city's budget. When we looked at where we would set our rate, if we had had a higher property value tax rate set by the county, we would not, I can't speak for the board, I would not have advocated to raise that $4 million entirely from the public, because I would have felt like that burden was too high. And there were other solutions we were discussing at the time before we saw that rate, but I'll just own that I was on board with this solution when I saw how it impacted all of us and what I knew it would do for our schools. Now, however, we had only, it turns out, 2 choices. We thought we had 3 choices. And I liked the third choice, which was going to be split the difference. We lower our tax increase to offset what was going to adjust from the county. And then we use half of that $4 million roughly would come out of our fund balance. We found out last night at our meeting that the state has said that wouldn't be legal to do at this point. So we only had 2 options last night in our board meeting, which was an emergency meeting to decide what to do. Option 1 was to do nothing. You pay what you already have on your tax your tax bill that you've received. And next year, and we would have a $3.7 million loss in our budget that we would just fund out of fund balance this year. But next year, they would in fact raise the rate, not just to what it would be next year based on what it would be, but also correct the amount from this year. Does that make sense? So if with the corrected amount this year, your $550,000 home is now taxed an additional $80. Next year, if we wait and correct this next year, you would pay $160. Does that make sense? Like you would get this year's increase and next year's rate, and it would both hit you at the same time next year. And we would be using up that fund balance that we need to have. And the alternative was for the county to, which we're grateful for, fund the cost of reissuing all of those tax notices to taxpayers and just correct the error now, which was what we voted to do. Personally, I personally would like to apologize to taxpayers in Provo. It's not the way any of us wanted it to go. And it personally is not what I would have chosen to do. But given the situation we're in, I think it's the right thing to do. The question I had last night for the county, and I was grateful that the county came to our meeting and Rod Mann came and spoke to us and addressed us as the county auditor, was how are we going to make sure we don't have a $1 billion mistake again in the future? He did explain that they will automate that process of how the data that was counted goes into that spreadsheet. But the question I had was, however that data gets all the way through to the end, at the end, when you are looking at the answer, what do you do to check to make sure that answer is the right answer? Because we had a Provo citizen, Mike Rohn, who caught this error and took it to the county in the first place. So those are the questions you can ask the county assessor and auditor's office. But also I know that they are committed to not letting this error happen again. It hasn't happened to my knowledge, and the state even was wondering what is legal to do, what is right to do. I'm sorry for the impact it has on everyone, but that's the situation. It did, however, raise a lot of people's attention to the city and their spending. And so just for one more quick minute, I just wanted to say, my name is Lisa Boyce, and you can get my email address on the website. I'm happy to also stay after and give you my phone number. I sit on that finance committee and would love to talk to you about your budget concerns and questions and ideas about how Provo is spending money right now, what our priorities are, and what you feel like we could do better. We really do want to be transparent with you, and we also want to be good stewards of your taxpayer dollars, and we don't want to have to ask for dollars that we actually do not need. Okay, thanks.
Lisa, that's an unfortunate error. Thank you. Now we have time for public comment. This is when all those questions that you've been hanging on to please. And when you make that comment, we need you to speak into a microphone. So Eric has a microphone. I have a microphone. You can come up and talk here if you want. So what questions do you have from any of the things we've talked about so far, or just maybe you're bringing something new in? I know Mary has a question. Go ahead.
So I live in North Grandview, and I love the new Rotary Park bathrooms being available and all season. I think that's great. But just the past couple of weeks, we've had some mild, I would assume, teen hooliganism where they've been stealing the toilet paper and just like toilet papering the Rotary Park. I don't want to lock those bathrooms because I think they are really available and good, but I don't know what the solution is, whether that's something where we could just have like, I don't know, hooligan teen police presence or whatever. But it's been a couple of weeks, and it's not a small amount of toilet papering. It's pretty comprehensive. So I just don't know what can be done there.
Thank you. You're on the record. We'll try to get something done about that. What other questions or comments do we have?
I'm John Salzman. I live in the Provo North, live on 1700 North. For 35 years, I've been trying to get the city traffic engineer to do something about the speed. I think it's been 3, maybe 4 years when we Our neighbors talked with the current traffic engineer. We've waited, and we've waited. Yes, we got the striping. Guess what? The speed is the same. I've requested the raw data when they have done their studies and have been refused. I think we, not the raw data, okay? I have a few other questions, but I'll just end with this last one. Now, when my family has an emergency and we have to spend more money, we have to cut our budget. I've not seen the city do that. I think it's time that the county and the city, I mean, I've been here 35 years and my taxes have gone up. Who here hasn't had their taxes go up 3, maybe 4-fold? I'm retired. I can't keep seeing my taxes going up. I've seen my taxes just, it's not right. There are a number of people probably in our city who are retired, who can't afford it and are may have to leave their homes because they can't afford these taxes.
Thank you so much. That goes on the record and we will see what we can do.
We have one on Zoom, so I'm gonna allow resident with their hand raised. I just allowed you to speak.
Hi, this is Barbie Osorio DeSoto. I'm in Grandview. I want to say thank you for the sign. It's right in front of my house, your speeding sign. But yeah, people aren't really slowing down. Unfortunately, they seem to be mostly ignoring it. And the speed takes a long time to show up if they're going over 25. So they pass it before the speed shows up. So I invite you to come and look in front of my house and watch it. So yeah, I don't think the problem is really driver awareness. It's more like the design of the street. And we still would need like daylighting and narrowing in the coming months to actually fix that. And echoing John's comment, I've lived here for 5 years. It took 5 years of working on this to get like a single change. I've been literally hounding the city like so much. And I don't think that's the ideal way to deal with basic safety. Our street has 3 parks, a school, and lots of kids and other pedestrians. And Mr. Kiesler told us that we couldn't do any special painting to draw attention to the 1500 West and 1460 North crossing. And that was disappointing. And I'm just wondering at what point they decided to take out the crossing guard, because the community council had specifically told him that we did not want to sacrifice the crossing guard. But it was done anyway. So I'd love to know what the conversation was there. Second comment, sorry. For our grants fund, I would really like to see some sort of like ramps or something going off of either South Grandview Hill or Lions Park, at least starting on something, because we need walking and biking off the hill to be safe. And it's not really right now, especially like if you're a mom with a stroller or small kids or anyone with assistive devices. I'm grateful for all the hard work of the neighborhood council that was able to stop the connection from 1500 West to 2000 South. That will now be the only safe exit to go anywhere from Grandview when it's done. But and then third thing, just this is for the school board. I don't mind higher taxes for education. It is the single most important thing, in my opinion, in our society, making sure our kids can read and think. I would just like to request for the school district to enact some sort of policy to guide the construction of new schools so that we'll stop building them where we would like put a prison in the middle of nowhere, and instead work to locate them in neighborhoods where the kids actually live. So it's also, I heard, been a burden on the city public works because the land may be cheap, but it's because it's completely underdeveloped. And so then the city has to basically go in and essentially subsidize that. And our streets then get farther and farther behind on their schedule for being fixed up and renovated and stuff. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Barbie. Thank you, Barbie. Those are all really good comments, and we will note those down and work on them. That Melanie can talk to you about the decision for the crossing guard. So she will give you a call, or you can call her. All right, any other comments? We have time for about 2 more minutes.
Hi, I'm James Paxman. I live in Grandview as well. I'm with John on the concept of lowering costs. I mean, we looked at those 3 proposals. The one you did not look at is cutting expenses. I think we really need to look at that. Every time I go to a school board meeting or another meeting where truth in taxation is talked about, it is often mentioned that taxes did not go up, or in some cases, they even go down. I took a random sample of 20 taxes within the Provo area. Every one of them went up 3 to 10% in this cycle right now. So it just baffles me with that many that I looked at, that you're saying some went down. I just don't believe it. I mean, I understand the concept, but I've never seen it. And everybody I talk to, theirs goes up. So there must be a select few. On the lanes or the yellow lines they painted on 1460, I think that was a bad idea. It doesn't slow traffic. You actually will need to come up with an east-west corridor that people will want to use if you want to solve that issue. All that does now is make it so when people turn left, you have to wait behind them because everybody's pushed off to the side. Thanks.
This is really good feedback. It's really good. And we will pay attention.
Hi, thanks. Foster Watabi. I'm the Assistant Director for Provo Parks and Recreation. I just wanted to address 2 things. One is I love that you guys love pickleball. That is awesome. We also love our pickleball. We do not love that you would like to spend your money in Orem. In fact, we'd like you to hold on to your money and not spend that money. It's just that the courts are not reservable, and hopefully you can understand why that would be, or reservable in a private only way. And so we open those up for everybody to play at. So if you'd like to rotate in and out, you can still play at the pickleball courts. You just can't have it exclusively to yourselves. People do love their pickleball, right? We love that, right?
And not have a place to hold it.
Got it. We can discuss later, and let's address that. So, and as far as the vandalism goes, we also do not like that. I mean, that costs money. That is definitely difficult for us to do. So we're looking at ways that we can maybe secure those bathrooms, as well as looking at more solid or metal toilet paper holders so that they can be a little bit better. So we're looking into a couple of those different things. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your comments. Other comments? One more.
I'll just attest to the double yellow lines being painted and that just adding lanes to otherwise unmarked neighborhood streets. I've also done a lot of study on this, and while lane narrowing does seem to reduce speed, lane adding can increase it. And that seems to be what Provo City has been doing in some of these situations. So maybe just take a look into that. I too would like to see the data. That would be great.
Okay. Thank you. And your name?
So sorry, I'm Charlene Mills, and I live in on Independence Avenue.
All right. Go ahead. Last one.
Yeah, last one. Just regarding the bridge deconstruction and reconstruction, that was going to start when?
So on the bridge, they are hoping to start in the next few months. They're going to post more details and like specific dates once they have the contract finalized with the contractor.
The last thing I heard was mid-October, but it's going to be beyond that.
Your guess honestly is as good as mine. I mainly heard late fall, so it could be maybe early winter. It probably just depends on how long it takes with this contract.
Okay, we'll plan on that then. Thank you.
Don't quote me.
All right. Now, I love hearing from the input from the community, and we really take it seriously, and we will note down and we'll respond to your ideas. now we get to hear from our candidates from now until we adjourn a little before 7:30. And if you'll all just come up, everybody gets how long? 5 minutes? 5 minutes. Yeah. Well, how many have we got here? Have we got 6? Yeah. So let's go. What's the order on here? Let's start with Mayor Kafusi, and then Marcia Judkins, and Catrice, and Adam Shin, and then Rachel Whipple and Sam Blackburn, in that order. And I think that Rachel is going to time you.
Yeah, so candidates, there will be a timer on this TV up here, which you can't see. So that's not super helpful, but it does have 5 minutes on there. And then when it goes off, there will be a ding, and then please stop talking.
Well, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Michelle Kafusi, and I have the great privilege and honor of being your mayor right now. So I want to say first, thank you. Thank you for engagement. This neighborhood meeting has been run so smoothly. So thank you to all the leadership. Let me talk to you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Provo. We're a generational family here. We love this city, truly love it. Now come with me to a moment at a kitchen table when I was 10 years old, in my kitchen on a Sunday evening with a mother that wasn't expecting to be divorced from a domestic violence issue and 7 siblings around the table. And my mother working the graveyard shift from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. every night at this hospital where I was born. And her saying, we need everyone's money on the table. Everyone needs to help. Back in those days, this wasn't common. She was the only divorced woman I knew in Provo. I thought everyone's dad was either a doctor or a BYU professor. That's what it felt like to me. But there we were. There I was as one of 7 with a free and reduced lunch kid now, all the things, attended Dixon and Provo High grad, all these things about this community that stepped in. They could have turned their back on us, but instead they chose to rally around me and my siblings. They started offering jobs they didn't need to have to offer, offering us reading to our kids. I mean, I was just a kid myself, but paying me because they knew our situation was tricky. Introducing ideas like, you're really sharp. Have you ever thought of going to college? I had never thought of that because I knew our situation. We were paycheck to paycheck, just trying to survive. Now step forward a moment with me in the past 2 months when I receive a phone call at 6:30 in my kitchen, and I am told that I have been named the best run city in the nation. As I'm standing there thinking of my team and all the employees that have contributed, and tears streaming down my face, trying to pull myself together. Who would have ever thought that from that kitchen table to that moment in my own kitchen, that would be me? I am so touched by this community and truly care about it. I immediately asked him what was the metric for this award, because our staff is amazing. And he said, the metric was this. The reason you won this because you exercise on a small budget while delivering the highest quality of services. 148 large cities in the United States of America, Mayor, you are the best run city in America because of that first and most important metric that we looked at. Again, unbelievable to me. Let me just say that 8 years I have delivered a balanced budget for this city, and never once have I ever proposed a tax increase. And I want to answer all your questions after, so come talk to me about taxes, because I'll tell you about the pie. And I was on the school board for 7 years. I understand how the school board eats up the majority of the pie. We get $7 million of that huge pie, which is a slice about this wide, if you look at the whole tax pie. So let's visit. Let me also just jump to us being the mayor. In the 20 years before I was mayor, let's go 20 years, $120 million was brought into this city from grants and other ways to get money to this city. When I came in and we had major problems, I immediately go back to my roots. Shoestring budget, how do we fund these big projects like a new sewer system, a new water system to restore our aquifer, an airport? We went to work. My initiative, and I have some of my directors in the room. I called them in. I said, we're going to turn over every rock and find every dollar we can that does not have to come out of the taxpayer's pocket. And again, 20 years, $120 million. Since I've been in as your mayor, we have locked down over $300 million. That's money that I don't have to come to you for. I want you to know I love my job. I love Provo. It's been really fun to knock the doors. I was up in South Grandview last night and just loved visiting with folks that had hired me to work at Cook's Ice Cream right here on Center Street. It's just amazing, the history in Provo. I want to stay working for you and serving you. So I'm asking for your vote to continue this energy and momentum that we have here in the city of Provo. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Marcia Jepkins, and I am also running to be mayor of Provo. And I'll introduce myself a little bit. I would like to say thank you for all of you being here. I think that civic engagement is so important, and I have just enjoyed hearing your comments. And I also enjoyed hearing about the mayor and her achievements here. So I've lived in West Provo for almost 4 decades, and I raised my 7 children there. And they all went to Westridge Elementary and then on up through Provo High School. And they're married and grown now. I have 13 amazing grandchildren. And kind of interestingly to me, 5 of my 7 kids have all married Provo kids too. So we have some real ties here. I currently teach math at Utah Valley University. And I also served on the Provo School Board. I served with Michelle. And then I ran and was elected to be a representative at the state legislature. I represented all of you up at the state legislature for the last 6 years. And last year I decided I didn't want to run again. And the reason why is because I love Provo and I wanted to come back here and serve here. We have a lot of great things going for us here in Provo. You just heard, the Wallet Hub, a best run city, and we have an amazing staff, and we do stay on budget, and all those things are really, really good. But we also have some real challenges that have not been addressed, and I want to address those challenges. So I probably won't be able to go through all of them here tonight, but you can go to my website to find out more. But first is that we are bleeding sales tax revenue. Last year, our sales tax revenue was down by 4%. And that is not a Utah trend. Utah's sales tax revenues overall were up 3%. But here in Provo, we are losing point of sale tax revenue. This is really important because that is the economic driver of our city. It's over a third of our budget, a third of our revenues is made up of sales tax revenue. And when that goes down, it puts pressure on the other revenues that have to come into the city, or we have to cut our services. And so some of the ideas that I have that we could do to increase this revenue are that we really need to support our small businesses, and we can do that by cutting red tape, cutting the bureaucracy. It's difficult to start and maintain a business here, but we need to do everything we can to help the businesses that start here to thrive, and the businesses that are already here be able to stay in business. Our downtown is an amazing gem. We need to make it a destination spot by really supporting our downtown. We have a really amazing redevelopment that is wanting to go into where our town center mall is. And I think we need to support really good development that's smart like that. We also need to look at our master plan and find out where we can put neighborhood friendly service, retail, hospitality in different areas of our city, like West Provo, where I'm from, way West Provo, out in South Provo, where we are underserved currently. And this will all help us to bring up that tax revenue. A lot of you talked a little bit about transparency. I would like to increase the transparency in our city, open a transparency portal on the website, which is an easy to use tool where you can find everything. You can find projects, you can find data, you can find grants that we've been given, you can find city budgets, you can find voting records, you can find everything just right there in a really simple, easy to use format. I want to have town hall meetings regularly. I will use every resource available to me to reach out to all of you and let you know what is going on in this city. And I have a track record of that in the legislature. Something else that is really important to me is transportation. And we've talked a lot about that tonight too. And we could partner with the schools more easily to make sure that we have safe routes to school and that we are really partnering with them to make these safe routes. We also need better east-west access, better north-south access, and we can do that without destroying neighborhoods in the process. I know you're gonna need 30 seconds. And also, I just would like to bring the vibe back to Provo. It's really dry, sorry. Bring back the rooftop concert series and things that make our community feel like a community. So anyway, you can find out more on my website, marciajettins.com, and I would like to earn your vote. Thank you.
Therese, thank you.
Thanks, Beth. Yeah, so I am currently on the Provo City Council, the citywide seat, and I'm running for re-election. So I've been on the council for the last 4 years, and there's a steep learning curve. Like I've come in and put a lot of time towards it. I had a lot to learn. I didn't know about sewers. I didn't know about energy. I didn't know about safe routes to school per se. I didn't know the rec things that go on. Like there's just so many aspects of a city, right? And as council, you have to understand all of it, especially when you're like looking at budgets and trying to figure things out. I feel like I've really reached my learning curve by my 3rd year. And I just feel like in being reelected, I could definitely even do more and know better and be able to be more effective in the position. But 3 things I've done what I'm really proud of the last 4 years. Number one, there's a lot of fees in the cities, right? Developers pay impact fees. People who own rentals pay rental fees to like have a rental apartment. We do passports at the city. There's a lot of fees. Businesses do fire suppression fees, and they have to get a fire test of their suppression system at their business. So there's a lot of different things that we charge for in the city. And what I discovered being on the council was that a lot of these things hadn't been looked at in 20 plus years, which means as citizens, we were subsidizing these fees. So we were subsidizing the developers, or we were subsidizing the landowners, or we were subsidizing the businesses doing their fire suppression. And while the state doesn't allow us, and we shouldn't, charge more than the actual cost of something, we were significantly under the cost of things. So we've gone through in the last few years and redone all those fees. Some of them we were able to know the exact cost and just fix it. Other ones we had to do studies on to like make sure that we understood the costs and did them correctly. And you have to like validate those fees. But that's a huge thing that we did that means those things aren't being subsidized by taxpayer money, which gives us our taxpayer money. We can use it better, right? Another interesting thing that I worked on was, so 52% of our city doesn't pay property taxes. They're nonprofits. BYU churches, Food and Care, United Way, the county buildings, schools, all those things. That's a really high percentage. Like we're unique that way in Provo. And we have a road fee that goes towards the maintenance of our roads. Okay. And that was an issue John Curtis put in place when he was in office. And it's actually something that went as far as the Supreme Court to prove that it's a fee, not a tax, because that's an important distinction when you look at things legally. But I discovered that there was an exemption that we had in policy just for BYU and the church. It's like, wait a minute, who's the biggest user of our roads? Probably BYU when it comes down to it. And that's a fee that everyone should be paying. It's just fair. There's no reason that we should be subsidizing the road fee for BYU. So we got that exemption taken out. And And that was really beneficial to the city. That money can be put into the roads and maintenance and helps, we have a huge issue with potholes and all this because our four seasons are really rough on roads, and roads are very expensive, very, very expensive. Yeah, so those are a couple of things. What are we at in time? Okay. Another thing is that we've worked really hard as a council to work on enforcement. It's something that was a huge complaint in the city and had been for years. And it's something that affects home prices and affects quality of life for our citizens. And so that's something we've really tackled. It's been hard. It's been complicated. And it's something that you don't see the results of right away, right? So we've done some laws, we've hired more enforcement officers, we've changed some of our policies and procedures. And so that's something that we're really interested in watching and, adjusting as we need to. And hopefully that becomes more effective and can improve the quality of life for our citizens, the quality of life for students, the quality of life for I have a total mind blank. For the pricing, so that we're not having our pricing incentivized to be higher due to, illegal use of homes. But I'm very accessible. I answer every email. I do a newsletter twice a month before every council because one thing I noticed when I knocked doors the first time was that people just didn't know things. And a lot of things they were upset about weren't even actually true or completely informed. So contact me. I'm very accessible. And I'm happy to come to your neighborhood. I'm happy to come to your business. I'm happy to talk to you or text. But thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name's Adam Shin. I'm also running for City Council citywide. Thank you all for sticking around to the end to hear from us. It's really great to be with you and get the chance to communicate and reach out. Provo has been a part of my family's story for a very long time. My parents both went to BYU. I attended BYU. My wife did as well. And we loved what we saw here in Provo enough that we wanted to come and stay and put down roots. Like many of you, I would guess, have that same story. And I want to take a second and ask a question. And the question I want to ask is, as a city, what is our vision for the future of Provo? When we think about Provo and we think about the things that we love about our city, the things that we want to see, the changes we want to see happen, what is that vision for the future? As I've talked to a lot of people, knocking doors and getting to meet you all, I've met many people who care about neighborhoods that are safe, that are livable, that are affordable. We want places where we can have strong business, where we have a vibrant and a vital local community. And so as I keep talking today, I want to frame that in the question is like, where are we headed as a city and what we want to become? I love Provo. I love so many of the things that make our city unique. And to me, part of loving a place means thinking really hard about what are we struggling with? What are the challenges we're up against? And what are the things that we could do better, right? And I want to talk about a few of those things right now. One of those, as Marcia mentioned earlier, is our local economic future. We have not seen any sales tax growth in the last 4 years. We're projecting an even bigger drop for the fiscal year for 2026. We have not been attracting business. We have not been growing our local business economy. And that has very real effects on city functions, right? Things like, the speed signs, right? Or being able to put safe crosswalks around schools, taking care of our streets. These are things that come out of our city budget, and we need to have a strong local economy to keep those going. One huge challenge that we're dealing with right now that I'm glad we're talking about a lot more is our infrastructure. Provo is an older city in Utah. We're not really old by, many cities in the US, but we are an older city in Utah, and we have a lot of very old infrastructure. That includes water infrastructure. That was a big topic this year in the city council. Our city, our water department has put out a water master plan that shows the effects of where things are going to end up if we don't start making some changes to how we plan for the future with our infrastructure. If we don't increase funding, if you live in West Grandview, you're probably in the red area on the map, which actually means that you would not have enough water pressure to run your appliances and fixtures, basically, unless we actually take a serious stab at increasing funding that we're putting in towards this maintenance. And we did not vote to do that this year. We actually voted to cut down the proposal so much that we're not even keeping pace with inflation realistically. And nobody wants their taxes to go up, right? I'm checking my time here. We don't want to have higher burdens on citizens. We don't want to have a higher burden on the people who live here. So the question becomes, how do we think about growth? How do we plan for the future? And can we build up our tax base in a way that actually brings in more revenues and strengthens our budget without having to burden all of you every year we come to assess taxes? I think there's so much. I've over the last year, I had the chance to serve on the planning commission in Provo. I myself have listened to hours of neighborhood meetings. I've listened to hours of recordings of these meetings, of city council meetings. And you see patterns, you see trends, right? One of the big trends that the patterns that repeats is we need to, so many of the tough questions we face in Provo relate to how we plan for the future, how we plan for smart growth, how we plan for economic development, what we're doing to keep our city running effectively, and keeping our city strong. So I am excited to dig into these questions. I believe that we have a strong future ahead of us. It's time for us to start addressing some of these concerns now, so we can keep our city strong and livable for all who continue to live here, the next generation, and those who are here today. So I would love to earn your vote for city council. Thanks so much for being here.
Now the candidates for Council District 5, Rachel Whipple and Sam Blackburn.
You really can't see the clock from there. All right. So I'm Rachel Whipple. I am currently serving as the city councilor for District 5. I live in the Mazer neighborhood, but for several years, my older two children went to school up on Grandview Hill because they were part of the CAST program. My little daughter, as a fourth grader, would ride her bike from my house to Dave Harding's house, just by Timpanogos Elementary, and together they would ride up the hill with his daughter because they were BFFs and go to Grandview. And my daughter learned how to navigate her way around the city as a little elementary school student by riding to Grandview Hill. And I gotta say, the schools up there are different than the one down in Provo Peaks where we are. Like, you have different concerns in your part of the city. Every neighborhood is a little bit different with different character. And I think that's why we have district seats, right? So that as a district representative, we can bring that perspective. So for District 4, the neighborhood District 4, the only overlap between that and my city council district is North Park, right? Where we've got the hospital and a little bit of student housing. We lost most of that neighborhood to a parking lot and expansion, and those things are good, but it takes away our housing stock that we need for people. As a city council, we've been able to look at what tools we have to affect housing affordability. We don't control the markets. We don't control how much construction costs or how much the interest rates are, the cost of lending and things like that. And those, honestly, are the biggest factors in the housing unaffordability that we're seeing right now. But what we do control as a council is zoning, right? And the restrictions that we put on how people are able to use their own property. And so one of the biggest things that we've done as a council is commission a rewrite of our zoning code, because we've got 30, almost 40 different residential zones in the city of Provo right now. It's very difficult to know exactly what you can do with your property or what you can do with the property that you want to buy. And then once you get it, what your restrictions are. And that costs owners time, it costs developers time, and it costs our staff time. So simplifying that, first step. Second thing is to look, as we simplify it, if we can do things that would help affordability, right? Are all of our setbacks appropriate? We need some setbacks for safety issues, right? So that you don't have your neighbor's roof pouring water into your window well. Like, this is a good reason for a setback, but are the setbacks that we've inherited completely appropriate? So we get to look at things like that. So that's one way that the city council can affect housing cost. The other thing that we've looked at is what property does the city own that we could put houses on to build workforce housing? And we actually had our city look at that, look at our holdings, and we are working on a project to build workforce housing. And the line of police and fire officers who want to get into this housing is astonishingly long. I think we're going to have to do a lottery or something for them to be able to get into that, because we want the people who work in Provo to be able to live here. So those are a couple of things that we can do with all of the limits that we have. And what I love about being on the council is it's not just my opinion. It's not just what my neighbors and my district want. It's what we need to do for the city as a whole. So Catrice and I got to serve on leadership together for a couple of years. And we come from different parts of the city. We have different backgrounds and perspectives. And when we had agreement on something, that was indicative that there was pretty wide agreement throughout the city. And so we could move on that, and it was fantastic. But there are some things that I really, really want, and I know my neighbors want, that aren't popular enough, right? The rest of the city is not comfortable with that. And so part of being a counselor is this conversation that we have with each other, with the other counselors and with the city. So sometimes we do what we really believe is right, and sometimes we do what is necessary, but always we are accountable to you. So if you want to learn more, electrachelwhipple.com. It's my little website. It's fun. And we'll be doing a tie-dye party on Monday night if you want to come and customize a shirt.
All right, everybody, I know we're already over time here, so I'll hopefully try and make this quick. But my name is Sam Blackburn, and yeah, I'm running for City Council District 5. So yeah, I'm actually a student at BYU, and I'm campaigning because of housing issues. Rachel alluded to some of this, but the reality is that we just don't have enough housing here in Provo, and particularly for students. That means that, you know, students end up commuting into town, they end up moving into family neighborhoods, and that has lots of downstream effects on some of the issues that other candidates have talked about tonight. You know, if students and renters are moving into family neighborhoods, it oftentimes means that, you know, they're not spending the same way that a family would, which can impact Provo's sales tax base. And even beyond that, Provo needs more housing for younger families, and you know, we've already alluded to city employees who need more housing options. So, you know, that takes the form of you know, more potential apartment complexes and duplexes and whatnot. So I mean, I guess that's sort of my pitch. So thank you all for coming out tonight. If you want to learn more, you can find my website, samforprovo.com.
And that completes our business for this evening. If the candidates can stay after for a little bit, everybody can ask them questions, get to know them. And thank you so much for coming out. We'll see you in about 3 months.